It's a paradise.
Place for family.
Weather so nice.
Sun-filled beauty.
Positively.
Port St. Lucie.
Welcome to Positively Port St. Lucie. I'm Sarah Prohaska, Public Information Officer with the City of Port St. Lucie. We're here this week to talk about some great things that the city has coming up in the month of December. And one of the really important things, that exciting events we have happening this month, is we have a groundbreaking ceremony on December 12th for a very important water quality project that the city has been working on for quite some time, and we're finally making it a reality. And we're inviting our residents to come out to this really special ceremony that we have coming up for our, we call it our McCarty Ranch Water Quality Project. And we just wanted to give our listeners and our residents some information about this project, how it will help our local water supply and help protect the health of the St. Lucie River. And today I'd like to welcome Jenny Tomes from our Utilities Department, Utility Systems Department. She's a Utility Outreach Coordinator.
Yes.
And John Eastman, also from our Utility Systems Department. He's been working on this project for 2 years now?
2 years.
2 years, okay. And of course, Whitney Frazier is our co-host today, also from the Communications Department.
Hi.
All right, Jenny, can
Yes.
you just give us a quick overview of what this project is, if you don't mind?
Certainly. I think a lot of folks are familiar with McCarty Ranch Preserve. Okay,
Yes.
so this is the McCarty Ranch Extension property. So this is the very southernmost end of that property. It sits just north of the C-23 canal. So the way this project is situated, it will pull excess freshwater discharges from the C-23 canal. So it's sort of almost a big stormwater treatment area, if you will.
Yeah.
But it's what, about 1,900 acres?
Roughly.
Roughly.
So right-
1,900 acres of fallow citrus grove.
Yeah. So if you were to go out there right now, you will just see groves.
Grove.
Orange groves, old groves.
Old groves. There's a
Just-
sod farm
Yeah.
kind of smack in the middle of those groves. It's not a particularly pretty site. We keep referring to it as very rustic.
Very rustic.
But the potential is really exciting. So you
Yes.
go out there, you know what, it doesn't look like much, but there's so many benefits, and it's going to be so impactful and so helpful to this
Exactly.
community.
So essentially, in the end, it will be 7 reservoirs, right? 7 large water containment areas that we're going to transform these citrus groves into. And John, since you are our expert here, our numbers guy, can you let us know basically how will this help? Because the health of the St. Lucie River is a really big, important topic to a lot of the residents, not only in Port St. Lucie, but across the Treasure Coast. And this is one project that the city believes will really make a positive impact
Right.
for the river.
Yeah, so essentially what's going to happen is during high flow, high rain events, we'll be able to pull some of that excess fresh water that actually enters the rivers, which has been causing some of these issues. We'll be able to store that in our 7 areas that we're going to continue to build. And hopefully reduce the nutrients, which is the nitrates and phosphorus. We're talking about pulling in roughly 21% of fresh water from entering the canals and holding it in this area. Right now, we're just starting the first area, which is roughly a little over 200 acres. But total, we're supposed to, hopefully we'll be able to pull out like 89,000 pounds of nitrogen, 18,000 pounds of phosphorus out of the river to help clean it up a little bit.
That's
as
annually.
And- yeah.
That's annually, once the whole project is done. So,
That's great. And those are everyone remembers the summer of 2016 when the river basically was filled with blue-green algae. And luckily in Port St. Lucie, up here, we didn't have the brunt of that. Down South Martin County, it was more, but everyone remembers it. And you remember not being able to, really, you had to be very careful if you were going out there, and you just couldn't use the river that
Just
summer.
the fumes alone were so bad. I mean,
Yeah.
I have friends that live in Palm City, and she was sharing some video with me just outside her home, and I mean, she had a mask on, and she basically had a medical mask on because
Yeah.
she couldn't breathe it in. Her eyes were watering. It was really bad. That's the worst I've ever seen it.
Yeah, and it impacts the economy too. I mean, we have businesses who really do rely on the river for their to stay afloat. So this really, hopefully, the state and the federal government are working on very big fixes to the river, but this is something that we can do locally, right?
Right.
Okay, this is that we hope will make an impact and prevent another summer of 2016 or help prevent it.
Absolutely. I think utility systems saw an opportunity in purchasing this property because it's eventually going to be a surficial water treatment facility, but that's way, way, way down the road. But in
Okay.
the meantime,
It can hold this water.
it can hold this water. And John, you can explain this better than I can, but once that water comes into it, in these areas, if you will, these holding areas, it will just naturally percolate back down
Back
into the
into
earth
it,
and
yeah.
clean up and absorb.
Exactly, that's the whole point. We're gonna store that water, and over time, it percolates back through, gets out the phosphorus, the nitrogen, as it leaks back through the ground and cleans it up. The good thing for this first basin, you know, this is Area 1,
Yeah.
which is just one of 7 that we're getting funds for through both DEP and South Florida Water Management. We got a grant for $200,000 from South Florida and roughly $400,000 from DEP to help along with this. And we're getting additional funds throughout the years.
Okay, and
How long do you think that it's going to take for each area to be completed?
This first area, once we kick it off, we're going through some paperwork right now, but we should be done with the first area by the September 2018, and hopefully we'll start in the Area 2 right after that. So we're already starting the design on Area 2. So I would say each year, each basin is approximately a year to
Okay.
complete.
I think the neat thing too is that they can operate independently of one another. You don't have to wait for total completion for
wow.
this project to start working.
Right.
Right? So
Yeah.
once Area 1 is up and complete.
We'll run it, yeah.
oh, great.
It'll start running.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you
On
can
its own.
start,
Yep.
making an impact almost immediately.
Absolutely,
Yes.
yes. And those numbers that John gave earlier, those are big numbers, but that's when the project is in its full completion,
All
in its
7 or
completed state.
Is it
Right.
7 reservoirs? Am I correct with
Yes,
that?
7.
7, okay. And
Total.
so the event we have coming up is coming up very,
Yes.
very quickly, December 12th. Jenny, can you tell us, that's for Area 1, or it's actually
It's a groundbreaking of
for the
of
whole thing, right?
Area 1, yes.
Yeah.
I can't imagine doing a groundbreaking for every
Like
one of these
groundbreakings.
once a year. Yes, that's a lot. But no, this is really to show, because we have had so much support from the community and from the state legislature, from FDEP, and from South Florida Water Management. We really wanted to bring folks together and the public just to show them where it's going. You know, a lot of these folks that have helped us out with grants, don't get to this area a whole
Yeah.
lot. So just to show them, this is what it looks like now, but just wait till it's up and running, and really just to give them a nice overview. So we're celebrating that groundbreaking on Tuesday, December 12th at 9 a.m. The exact address, because the public is invited, the exact address is 14195 Rangeline Road. So you can get there. There's no real direct route.
This is the far western reaches of
Yes.
of our area.
Absolutely. So it's Midway Road to Glades Cutoff Road to Rangeline Road, or you can come in from Martin County at Martin Highway. So you
Okay.
can come up that way. But
Yeah.
it's way out west.
Yeah.
But it's going to be fun. We're going to have a tent set up and do the ceremonial groundbreaking. With the shovels
Yes.
and the hard hats and everything, and just really inviting folks to come together just to learn more about the project, and like I said, just to see kind of where it's headed, and to thank those who have been so supportive.
Yes, and we do want to thank our state legislature. They they approved an appropriation for Phase 2 in the last legislative session, I do believe.
Yes.
And then I know that's, the city council has made this a priority, pretty much its top priority for this upcoming legislative session, trying to acquire more funding to continue it. We're getting it started, but we do have seven phases to fund, so we need to, and it is good. It's a great opportunity for our partners to get out there and see it and really see what it looks like now.
Yes.
How it's going to be transformed.
Yeah, and communications, you guys were so awesome. You got really good drone footage out there to really see the scope
Yes.
of just how large this property is. And so that video will be playing out there. We also have another video that we'll show. just an overview of the project itself. And, we got out in the community. You had the great suggestion of going to a Parks and Recreation event, River Nights, that's held, is that monthly?
Yeah, monthly, every month, the second.
Thursday.
Second Thursday.
I was gonna say,
thanks,
there's
Whitney.
one coming up next week. I
there
saw
is,
the-
yeah,
I saw the
it's
signs
through
for it.
April, and it's a great way to enjoy the river. Like this all ties back to the river. Our River
Absolutely.
Nights event, the second Thursday of every month
Month.
from 5:30 to,
I think it's
8:30.
about, yeah, maybe 8:30.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just south of the Botanical Gardens. There's a little dock there, the big banyan tree. Most people know the banyan
Yes.
tree. And that's where we are actually going to be building a new riverfront park.
Absolutely.
In the future.
Yep.
So, that's just another way that people can enjoy the river.
Ah.
You talked to some people out there.
I did, and
Uh-huh.
there was one gentleman in particular that I actually interviewed for this video, and he's multi-generational Floridian. His family, they've been here for years and years and years. But he talked about, he used to be a charter boat fisherman, and he talked about going into the lagoon, going into the river, and literally just jumping off the boat, taking a swim, coming back up, fishing, pulling fish right out of the river, eating them for dinner that night. And he
Wow.
said now it just, not so much anymore. He said
Yeah.
the fish that he's catching, they look very slim, very thin. I don't know much about fishing, but
Yeah.
apparently that's a bad sign. He said, you want a fat fish, you want a nice big fat
Yeah,
fish. And
something- yeah,
he said,
lots of-
you're just not finding a lot of big, fat, healthy fish out there.
Wow.
And he's seen the changes over the years. And, he said it's definitely important, for projects like this and any other help that we can get to just maintain the health of that river, just
Yeah.
for our residents, for visitors. It's the heart of the
It
city.
is.
We've got to take good care of it.
It's the heart of our whole region, really, and it's not just the river, it's the Indian River Lagoon. So you've got the two.
They're all
that-
connected.
That all tie together, and it's a very precious ecosystem that really we have to protect.
Absolutely.
So great that the utility systems has worked so hard to get this going, because it is a way that the city of Port St. Lucie can make a difference. We don't have to wait for these huge, massive fixes. We can do stuff locally.
Right.
Yes.
So.
Right, absolutely.
I am kind of curious more about how the project works. I know you said that it'll pull in water and then it'll like percolate down, but how exactly is it going to pull in water? Because right now it's just a bunch of land, right?
Right.
And so how is that water going to get where it needs to be? Can you explain that a little
Yeah,
bit?
we
more?
have we have a couple of pump stations that's tied directly into the C-23.
Okay.
We have a permit through South Florida that will allow us to pull that water out. And it's only during high flow events. So it's only going to be during the wet season. We'll be able to pull out and fill up these basins based on those pump stations. We don't discharge it back in, so it'll stay there. And then once the water recedes and the levels in the canal recede down, then we stop pumping out of that. And hopefully we're gathering enough water to keep it from getting all the way downstream. It also keeps the rainfall that hits the property itself from entering the canal as well. So
Okay.
it also reduces that amount as well.
Oh, great, thanks.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's such a technical project, but it's really not that hard to understand. You're basically pumping water out of the canal and holding it,
Yes.
so it doesn't go into the river, so.
And there's been some question too as to, it's a fallow citrus grove. It's, it's a bunch of
Yeah.
dead orange trees, to be very blunt. So
Yeah.
those aren't coming down. Those are going to stay where they are. There's not really digging required, right, to
Nope.
make these basins.
Well, we're gonna remove the dirt that's in the site to build the berm. So it's gonna be above ground.
Oh, okay.
Impoundment, so we're not gonna disturb a whole lot, but we are gonna take enough out of that area to build and they're roughly around 7-foot berms, so it'll keep all the water right there.
So that brings me, I have a question about this. So the McCarty Ranch Preserve is right to the north of it, right? That people know that's a Parks and Recreation facility. You can go fish in that lake. and
Right.
Now you can camp there.
Yep.
This is not connected to that, correct? So
No.
this will not be a place where the public can go to fish, and really you wouldn't want to be hanging around there,
No.
really.
No.
Yeah, because we're not gonna be removing all the orange trees, so the orange trees stay there, so, and there's only gonna have water in the basins during the high rain events, during the summertime when it's our wet season. During the summer season, during the winter, it goes back to what it naturally is.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
so-
interesting.
So, yeah, it's not gonna have water in it year-round.
Okay.
No
That's-
public access.
I'm glad you explained that to me, because even myself, who've been working with you on this for a while, I didn't know that. I was, in my mind, picturing a year-round filled basin of water, so that's interesting.
It'll fluctuate.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and I guess it does make sense, because it's based on the rain levels and,
Right.
Rain
and the
levels.
water level of the canal.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you both for coming on.
Absolutely.
It's such an important project, and it's so great to hear from someone who's been working on it, and it's part of your daily routine of your life for the past couple of years.
Yeah.
So to get it from the expert, we really appreciate you coming on and taking the
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you, Jenny.
Yeah.
So we all hope to see residents out there December 12th to help celebrate this.
Absolutely.
All right, we really appreciate you both coming on, and we'll be right back after these messages.